Every minute you are alive is making a decision about you. Not tomorrow, not next year, right now. Some minutes quietly build your future, and others silently steal from it. Most people never notice the difference, because wasted time doesn't announce itself. It feels harmless, comfortable, deserved. But comfort is expensive, and it always sends the bill later. This audiobook is not here to motivate you for a moment. It's here to rewire how you use time so your life starts compounding in your favor. If you're listening to this, you already know something most people avoid admitting. You don't need more hours. You need control over the ones you already have. The most successful people in the world wake up with the same 24 hours you do. The difference is not talent. It's not luck. It's not even intelligence. It's how they decide what deserves a minute of their attention and what doesn't. Right now, take a breath. Slow down. This is not a race. This is a reset. From this moment forward, you are no longer someone who reacts to time. You are someone who commands it. Most people live in reaction mode. They wake up late, check their phone, respond to messages, scroll through other people's priorities, and then wonder why the day feels heavy before it even starts. They confuse being busy with being productive. They confuse movement with progress. And at night, they tell themselves tomorrow will be different. Tomorrow never changes because nothing about today changed. Making every minute work for you begins with one hard truth. Time doesn't respond to intention, it responds to structure. You can want success with your whole heart and still lose to distraction if you don't design your days with precision. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is self-respect in action. Here is the first shift you must make. Stop asking, how do I find time? Start asking, what deserves my time? Because time found without purpose will always be wasted. Time assigned with clarity becomes power. Your mind is strongest in the first hours of the day. That is not opinion. That is biology. Yet most people give those hours away to noise, notifications, news, entertainment, other people's emergencies. High performers protect the beginning of their day like an investor protects capital. They invest their best energy into their most important work before the world can interfere. This does not require waking up at 4 a.m. It requires waking up with intention. The moment you open your eyes, you are either taking control or giving it away. If the first thing you touch is your phone, you've already lost the first battle of the day. Instead, ask one question before the day begins. What is the single action that would make today a win if nothing else happened? Not 10 tasks, not a long list, one clear outcome. When you identify that outcome, your minutes naturally align around it. Focus is not something you find. Focus is something you remove distractions to protect. Every unnecessary app, every unplanned conversation, every open tab is stealing fragments of your life. Fragmented time creates fragmented results. There is a reason deep work feels uncomfortable. It demands presence, and presence exposes excuses. When you sit down to do meaningful work, your mind will look for escape. That's not weakness. That's conditioning. You've trained your brain to expect stimulation on demand. Retraining it requires patience and consistency. Start small, but start seriously. One uninterrupted block of focused work per day can change your trajectory faster than 10 distracted hours. During that block, nothing exists except the task in front of you. No notifications, no background noise, no multitasking. Multitasking is not a skill, it's a leak. As days turn into weeks, that single block compounds. Skills sharpen, confidence grows, momentum builds. This is how ordinary people quietly become dangerous competitors while everyone else is busy talking. Now let's address procrastination, because this is where most potential dies. Procrastination is not laziness. It is fear wearing comfortable clothes. fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being good enough. So the mind delays to protect the ego. The cure is not more motivation. The cure is reducing the size of the task until the mind stops resisting. You don't need to finish. You need to start. Starting breaks the spell. Action dissolves fear faster than reassurance ever could. Promise yourself this. When resistance shows up, you will work for just 5 minutes. Not because 5 minutes is enough, but because 5 minutes removes the excuse. Most of the time, 5 minutes turns into progress. And progress is addictive. Another truth most people ignore is this. Your environment is stronger than your willpower. If your space is chaotic, your mind will follow. If distractions are within reach, discipline will eventually break. Design your environment so the right choice becomes the easy choice. Place your tools where you can see them. Remove temptations from your immediate reach. Prepare tomorrow the night before. High performance is not about heroic effort. It's about intelligent setup. Time mastery also requires learning when to stop. Burnout is not a badge of honor. Exhaustion reduces judgment. And poor judgment wastes more time than rest ever could. Schedule recovery like you schedule work. Rest with intention, not guilt. The most productive people are not working non-stop. They are working deliberately. They know when to push and when to pause. They treat energy as currency. They spend it where returns are highest. Let's talk about goals. Most goals fail because they are too vague. Be successful is not a goal. Get better is not a plan. Clarity creates accountability. When your goals are specific, your minutes know where to go. Instead of saying you want to improve your life, define the skill that will change everything. Communication, sales, fitness, focus, leadership. Then ask yourself what daily action builds that skill. That action becomes non-negotiable. Your calendar should reflect your priorities, not your intentions. If something matters, it gets scheduled. If it's not scheduled, it's a wish. Now understand this. Saying yes to one thing is saying no to something else. Every commitment has a cost. High performers are not selfish with time. They are selective. They understand that protecting their future sometimes means disappointing the present. You do not need permission to outgrow people, habits, or routines that no longer serve you. Growth demands subtraction. As you continue listening, I want you to recognize something important. You are not behind. You are early in your transformation. Awareness is the starting line. Most people never reach it. The system you are building is simple but powerful. Decide what matters. Protect focused time. Reduce friction. Repeat daily. That is how minutes become milestones. There will be days you fail, days you waste time, days you feel off. Do not turn one bad day into a bad identity. Consistency is not perfection. Consistency is returning to the system without drama. The future does not belong to the most motivated. It belongs to the most consistent. Motivation fades. Systems remain. Imagine looking back 1 year from now. Same body, same habits, same income, same regrets. That future is created by doing nothing differently. Now imagine a different year. One where you honored your minutes. One where you built skills quietly. One where results spoke for you. That future is created one focused block at a time. Right now, decide who you are becoming. Not in words, in minutes. Because minutes are votes. And every day, you are voting for your future self. The next level of making every minute work for you is learning how to think in seasons, not moods. Most people wake up and ask themselves how they feel. That question quietly ruins lives. Feelings change hourly. Progress doesn't. High performers do not negotiate with emotions. They decide in advance what must be done, and they let feelings catch up later. Your mind will lie to you when work matters most. It will tell you that you need inspiration, that the timing isn't right, that you'll be better tomorrow. Tomorrow is a fantasy created by discomfort. Discipline lives in today. Here's a rule that changes everything. Never decide in the moment what you already decided in advance. When your schedule is clear, decisions disappear. And when decisions disappear, energy multiplies. Decision fatigue is one of the biggest hidden drains on time. Every unnecessary choice steals focus from what actually matters. This is why routines are powerful. Not because they are exciting, but because they are automatic. When something becomes automatic, it stops costing mental energy. The goal is not to make your life rigid. The goal is to make excellence default. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Systems don't rely on willpower. They rely on design. One of the most effective systems is time blocking, not as a prison, but as a promise. When you assign a block of time to a task, you are telling your future self exactly what to do, so hesitation never gets a vote. Even if the block is short, it creates psychological commitment. And when the block ends, you stop. That's important. Stopping on time builds trust with yourself. It proves that focus does not mean burnout. It means control. Now let's address the invisible enemy of progress, context switching. Every time you switch tasks, your brain pays a tax. That tax adds up. An hour broken into fragments is not an hour. It's mental noise disguised as productivity. This is why checking messages while working is so destructive. Even a quick glance fractures concentration. Deep progress requires depth of attention. Protect it like something valuable, because it is. Another shift you must make is separating learning time from execution time. Many people confuse consuming information with improving. Podcasts, videos, books, they feel productive, but they don't create results without application. Learning should be intentional and limited. Execution should be dominant. For every hour you consume, spend multiple hours applying. Knowledge unused is just entertainment. Ask yourself regularly, is this activity building a skill or just comforting my mind? Comfort feels good now. Skills pay later. Let's talk about momentum. Momentum is not created by intensity. It's created by continuity. Small actions done daily outperform massive efforts done occasionally. This is why consistency looks boring from the outside but feels powerful on the inside. Your job is not to overhaul your entire life overnight. Your job is to win today. Just today. Tomorrow will take care of itself if today is handled correctly. Now understand this deeply. Time mastery is identity-based. You don't manage time as someone who hopes to succeed. You manage time as someone who respects themselves. Identity drives behavior more than goals ever will. Stop saying, I'm trying. Trying leaves room for retreat. Say, this is what I do. Language shapes commitment. When you start seeing yourself as a disciplined person, wasting time creates internal friction. And that friction becomes correction. Another critical principle is review. What gets reviewed gets refined. Once a week, look at how you spent your time. Not with judgment, but with curiosity. Where did minutes leak? Where did focus thrive? Adjust accordingly. Without review, weeks blur together. With review, improvement becomes inevitable. You must also learn the power of saying no. Every yes costs time. If you say yes to everything, you are saying no to your future. Boundaries are not selfish. They are strategic. People who respect their time teach others how to treat them. People who don't end up living other people's agendas. Now let's address something uncomfortable. Distractions are often chosen, not forced. We reach for them to avoid responsibility. Owning your time means owning your avoidance. Ask yourself honestly, what am I avoiding right now? The answer points directly to your growth edge. Growth is not comfortable. If it were, everyone would do it. Comfort is common. Discipline is rare. That's why discipline is valuable. As this audiobook continues, remember this. You are not trying to become someone else. You are removing what distracts you from who you already could be. Minutes are small, but they are mighty. Treated casually, they disappear. Treated with intention, they compound into a life that speaks for itself. At this stage, making every minute work for you becomes less about external structure and more about internal control. Once your schedule is set, your environment is designed, and your priorities are clear, the real work begins in the mind. This is where most people break, not because the plan is wrong, but because self-doubt starts to whisper. Your mind will question your pace. It will compare your progress to others. It will suggest that you're late, behind, or not moving fast enough. Comparison is a thief of focus. The only timeline that matters is the one you are building consistently. Here's a truth few people accept. Progress is often invisible while it's happening. Results lag behind effort. Skills mature quietly. Foundations form underground. If you quit because you don't see immediate reward, you interrupt the process right before it starts paying. This is why patience is not passive. Patience is disciplined trust in the system you're following. Another essential skill is learning how to recover quickly. Everyone loses days. Everyone slips. The difference between those who succeed and those who stall is how fast they return to execution. No guilt, no overthinking, just return. Missing one day is an event. Missing two becomes a pattern. Break the pattern early. You must also understand the role of boredom. Boredom is not a sign that something is wrong. It's a sign that you are no longer being entertained. You are being trained. Repetition creates mastery. Mastery creates freedom. If you constantly seek excitement, you will abandon anything meaningful before it has time to mature. Learn to respect boring progress. It is often the most profitable kind. Now let's talk about mental clutter. Your mind cannot focus when it is overloaded with unfinished thoughts. This is why writing things down is powerful. When your brain knows something is captured, it releases the need to remember it. Keep a simple system. Tasks written clearly. Priorities visible. Nothing floating in your head longer than necessary. Mental clarity saves time you didn't even know you were losing. Another major shift is learning to separate urgency from importance. Urgent things shout. Important things whisper. Most people respond to noise. High performers respond to impact. Just because something is urgent does not mean it deserves your best time. Protect your peak hours for important work. Handle urgency when energy is lower. This alone can double your output without adding a single hour. Let's address motivation again because it will keep coming up. Motivation is unreliable. Identity is stable. On days you feel driven, work anyway. On days you feel empty, work anyway. The work is the anchor. Confidence does not come before action. It comes from evidence. Evidence is created by showing up repeatedly, especially when it's uncomfortable. Every focused session becomes proof. Proof builds belief. Belief sustains discipline. Another principle that matters deeply is finishing. Many people start strong and finish weak. They chase novelty instead of completion. Completion creates confidence. Completion creates momentum. Make it a habit to finish what you start, even if the result is imperfect. Perfection delays. Completion compounds. Now understand this clearly. Your future is being negotiated daily by small choices, not big dramatic decisions, small repeated behaviors. What you do when no one is watching. What you choose when it would be easier not to. This is why integrity with yourself matters. When you say you will work for an hour and you do it, trust grows. When you break promises to yourself, motivation collapses. Self-trust is built the same way trust with others is built, through consistency. Let's talk about long-term vision. You must know what you are building toward, even if the picture is incomplete. Direction matters more than speed. Without direction, effort scatters. Your vision does not need to be perfect. It needs to be compelling enough to pull you forward on hard days. Revisit it often, not emotionally, but strategically. Ask yourself if your current use of time matches the future you want. Adjust when it doesn't. As you continue listening, remember this. Time mastery is not about doing more. It's about doing what matters repeatedly, with intention. At the highest level, making every minute work for you is no longer about productivity. It's about alignment. When your values, actions, and time are aligned, effort feels clean. Resistance drops. You stop fighting yourself. Most people feel exhausted not because they work too hard, but because they work against what actually matters to them. They spend their best energy on low-value tasks and leave their real goals for someday. Someday never arrives. Alignment brings that future into today. Here is a powerful question to ask regularly. If someone watched how I spent my time this week, what would they assume I value most? Time never lies. It exposes priorities without words. Once you see the truth, you have two choices. Adjust your time or accept the outcome. Freedom comes from choosing deliberately. Another advanced shift is learning to think in decades while acting in days. Short-term thinking creates impatience. Long-term thinking creates calm. When you know you're building something that takes years, you stop panicking about weeks. This perspective changes how you handle setbacks. A bad day doesn't matter. A bad week is manageable. What matters is the direction you return to. Now let's talk about leverage. Not all minutes are equal. Some minutes create momentum that saves hours later. Planning minutes are leverage. Skill-building minutes are leverage. Health-protecting minutes are leverage. If you invest time in thinking, learning, and preparing, execution becomes faster and cleaner. If you skip these, everything takes longer and feels heavier. One of the highest leverage habits is reflection. Not emotional reflection, but strategic reflection. Ask yourself what is working and what is wasting effort. Remove what doesn't serve the mission. This is how professionals operate. They optimize systems, not moods. Another principle that locks everything in is simplicity. Complexity drains energy. Simpler systems get used. If your time management requires constant adjustment, it will fail. Build something you can maintain on your worst days. On your worst days, you don't rise to discipline. You fall to simplicity. Now understand this. Success is quiet. The most effective people don't talk about how busy they are. They move calmly. They execute consistently. They let results speak. When you master your minutes, you master pressure. You stop rushing. You stop reacting. You start responding. This also changes how others experience you. You become reliable, clear, grounded. People trust those who trust themselves with time. There is one final habit that separates those who truly win from those who almost do. Ending the day intentionally. Before you sleep, review the day briefly. One thing you did well. One thing you can improve. One priority for tomorrow. This simple practice closes loops in the mind. It creates clarity. It prepares momentum before the next day even begins. Morning intention and evening reflection form a powerful cycle. Together, they turn ordinary days into strategic units. Now hear this clearly. You do not need to become extreme. You do not need to sacrifice everything. You need to be consistent with what matters. Balance is not equal time. Balance is intentional time. You are allowed to enjoy life. Just don't let enjoyment replace purpose. Let it support it. As this audiobook reaches its close, remember the core truth. Your life is not defined by big moments. It is defined by how you use the small ones. Minutes build habits. Habits build identity. Identity builds destiny. From this moment forward, treat your time with respect. Protect it. Invest it. Honor it. If this audiobook added value to your mindset, support the Motivational Audiobook Spot by subscribing for more long-form, professional audiobooks designed for focus, discipline, and real growth. Share this with someone who needs structure, not hype.